that parental consent that Dave talked about. And you're actually going to have 2 copies, right? The original and a copy. You keep the copy, you give us the original. And that, because if something happens down the road, we have to actually have that to release us from any issues. All right. Okay? Dress code. Everybody's wearing sneakers on the floor. Clothing needs to be modest. Is it really checked? Believe it or not, yeah, we kind of look. And we really haven't had problems with how kids are dressed at Sparky levels, as coaches actually. And then the circle director is going to make the final call on that, but I don't think we're going to have a problem there. Okay? I thought we just said this. Knee pads for Sparkies for a Sparky crawl. Good idea. Just make sure they're not going to mark up the floor. So if they're plastic, then we're going to say no. I've seen kids go out there without knee pads and they're just fine. Sparkies are very resilient. They're not like our age. All right, so you're going to try to get there 45 to 60 minutes ahead of time. One of you is going to go upstairs and make sure the registration process happens properly. You're basically just handing in those sheets and handing in your roster and saying, yes, I really do have a full team. No, I'm short. So then they're going to tell you, when you go downstairs, make sure your circle director knows so that we can work to getting you enough players if we have to pull somebody out of the stands. All right, then we have a coaches meeting. So at least one of you needs to be in a coaches meeting in the center of the circle. Basically, we're going to talk a little bit about any rule changes that might have happened. We're going to pray. Any questions you have at that time, we're going to answer them. But we need at least one of you in the middle. The other one can be watching the kids on the line, or if your kids are well behaved, they can just be on the line for a few minutes. Yes?
Quick question. The screen before about dressing. There was something that was brought up last year.
Colored hair.
Colored hair. We had kids that wanted to really have the stand look like our color of our team. So they were spray painting the hair with the colored hairspray.
We were told they weren't supposed to, and then someone showed up with it. And
Yeah.
we're like, "Is that
I
okay?"
personally don't care if they have color.
and
I'm worried about how they're dressed.
Oh yeah, that's what I thought in their
bathroom.
And we don't have to worry about anymore with the Sparky Safari with a beanbag on the
Right.
head and some, little girls that have this incredible braid work up there that they can never fall
It
up
was
there. We don't have to worry about that anymore.
Okay,
So is that,
thank
we're
you.
good on that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so 15 minutes prior time. Make sure your kids know the Sparky Yell. It's not the Sparky Whisper. It's the Sparky Yell. Okay? So we have a video recording somewhere of our Sparky director, in one of our programs that we have here doing the Sparky Yell, and he's all red in the face because it's a yell, and he gets the kids yelling. So that's really what that is. It's a Sparky Yell, and make sure they know John 3:16.
Yep.
All right? Awards, everybody gets the participation patch, or placement ribbon, and then the winning team gets a plaque. All right, plaque's about that big, okay?
Can we get ours now?
For
Can't take him anywhere.
for some extra donations. All right, they need to play in 3 events. It's really, the Sparkies, for them not to play in 3 events, you've really got to work at it because there's so many of the events that require most of your team, all right? So let's, here we go, the Sparky Crawl. Notice the dots are even. And in your rule book, they're evenly spaced. So the kids have to be, hey, they really move fast. Okay, I thought I was going to have this stuff over here. They're across there. You're standing over here with one coach, and one coach is standing here. This coach is standing over here is the one that's going to tell the player that's going in for the pin when to go in. Okay? Does everybody knows what knows these games, right? So if you don't know them, you know them?
For the most part.
Okay, no problem. Because you had this look like, well, it's okay. You know what? Because you're going to have all your kids here, all right? So depending on what division it is, we're not doing Division 1, which is the huge team. So this is 10 kids or it's 5 kids, depending if it's Division 2 or 4. And they're going to be evenly spread out. You're going to have one coach sitting here behind the kids. The buzzer's going to start the game. They're crawling across the middle. As they're crawling across the middle, the circle director runs out in the middle and puts a pin in the beanbag in the middle. And when all of your kids get across here and they get at least one hand over the line, they don't have to cross the line completely, one hand. Okay, at that point, when everybody's done it, you send your child in for the pin and they run in and grab the pin in the beanbag. Now, sometimes it happens where you've got your one kids you're sending in there and one of your other ones decides, well, I'm gonna go in for the pin too. And you know what? That's okay. We're gonna be watching that and I'm not gonna disqualify you. Now, if your kid interferes with one of the other teams in there, okay, I am gonna see that, but again, I'm gonna do everything I can not to disqualify a Sparky team. I don't want two kids running into the middle from the same team, but sometimes it happens, all right? Not the end of the world. You had a question?
Yeah. You don't slide into the pin, right? You gotta grab it, you can't just like a, you know what I'm talking about?
Well, I know they
Yeah,
stopped
you know,
it on
there's a
TV.
difference between TNT, Trek Journey, and Sparkies.
Well, yeah.
Am I gonna disqualify a Sparky if he slides? No. Okay.
Well,
I will tell you this much, that the safest way to go in, because I used to do this when I was a kid, for the pin and the beanbag in the middle, the safest way to get there is to actually dive. You know, what? Sparky's diving? Well, it's mostly TNT. But when you dive, your hands are out in front of you, okay?
Yeah.
And you're sliding along the floor, and that takes any impact. Whereas if I'm going along and this is the pin and the beanbag, if I'm going like this, I'm leading with my head,
yeah.
okay? And that's where the injuries happen, because you'll get two of them
Yeah,
and they'll crack heads in the middle. Where if they dove, as long as they dive far enough away, they're not going to have an impact. So,
yeah. I saw a kid knock out another kid's front tooth.
all right, so, you know, we don't want them to get injured. I mean, in Sparkies, they weigh next to nothing anyway. So you're gonna go
But,
across.
and no helmet-to-helmet contact if your kid is wearing a helmet, all that
Yeah,
good stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, no targeting.
No spearing.
No horse collars.
So we go across the one time, and you tell your kid, go in. Now everybody's lined up again here, heat number 2. We go back the other way,
First.
and the one person runs in.
First girl, second boy.
We prefer it, first heat a girl, second heat a boy. If you can't do that, it's not the end of the world, okay? That's what we'd like. So everybody's evenly spaced out. You can't send your runner early, okay? Everybody's got to get their hand across. We're saying here, girl then boy. And I think the rule book, it might say girl then boy. But again, if you don't have the kids to do that, it's okay. You have a different gender going.
But I have a question. I've seen teams that have had girls and boys, and then they make their first heat primarily boys.
There's
It's the girl,
sometimes
and the
it
girl
was-
is not the runner or what, it's different games.
Yeah.
Isn't the one that actually goes in for the pin, and I'm like, it's
So we try to
a little-
clarify that beforehand at the coaches meeting.
Yeah.
Saying, you know, if there's 2 heats, it's a girl and a boy. Now, you have to look at it from that coach's perspective. Now, maybe they're doing it just because the boy's a better athlete or whatever.
Right.
I don't know, okay? But it could be that they're using a girl both times because, well, none of the boys, you know, little boys, you know, don't take this wrong. We don't have a lot of brain cells functioning. And so they're, they're just about going to the bathroom and running around and eating.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're doing that because
Okay.
you might have 10 kids on your team, a Division II team, and really
Half of it.
half of them, you wouldn't want to send them in for the pin because they would run off and grab a pin over here, kind of thing. So that's what I look at as a circle director. I'm not that worried about, and the actual physical difference between a boy and a girl at, you know, kindergarten through 2nd grade, their athletic ability is not that much. All right, so we're ready for Sparky Crawl, Sparky Safari. Oh, now this one, everything came up. All right, players 1 through 4 with a stuffed animal, all right? And then we've got the bucket here, it's not, you know, here, so if we do it wrong, all right, you let us know, oh, it's supposed to be over here. And that'll help us make it easier for the kids to know which bucket to go to. All right, so each clubber has a bucket, they run around, or it has a animal, and they run around, they hand it to the next kid. Next kid runs with 2, hands the 2 off to the next one. Now the kid runs around with 3, and then the 4, and they just, till this kid's just got a handful of animals. And they run all the way around, run around here, stick them in the bucket. All right? Now, if they jam them all in the bucket, something pops out, it's not the end of the world. But I want them all to go in the bucket. And then they just go from here to there, and they grab the pin or the beanbag, and they've won. Okay? Now, this is where typically, if we're going to do disqualifications, they knock over pins, or if one of these clubbers, and I see this happen a lot, they actually come over here to receive their handoff. Technically, they're disqualified. Okay? Are we going to call it? I'll do everything I can not to call it. But if I see it's an actual habit from your team, Maybe you coach them that way, I don't know, okay? But so just try to tell your kids, don't go over out of their zone. Now, if it was TNT or Trek Journey, they're disqualified, okay? You cross that blue line and head over here, you're done, okay?
I
Sparkies.
teach the kids to get away from that white hash line,
Yep, so just,
don't cross it.
there's a little hash line here, and that's only for TNT and the other guys, the basketball relay and the beanbag relay. It's not really telling the kids on the relay race where they can stand. It'd be nice if it was. All right, so we go around, it's 2 heats if it's Division 2, it's 1 heat if it's Division 4. Again, it should be a girl then a boy. Girls and then boys. So it's 5 girls if it's Division 2 and then 5 boys. If your team doesn't have that many, if it's a 10-person team and you've only got 3 boys, obviously the second heat is going to have girls in there or vice versa. All right? All right, balloon battle. This is a coach participation event. Well, the coaches only get to participate because there's a ropes going across here, and you as a coach, you get to hold the rope. We ask that you hold the rope up here. It's kind of about between this height. All right, and we do that so that we don't get kids taking a balloon and going like that and spiking it, because if the rope's down low, they can't really spike it easy under the rope. Now, is it against the rules for them to spike it? Not really. Okay? So they're gonna start with 2 balloons in the middle. You got your 5 kids interspersed, however you want to do it. Most people do it in a little V pattern. Okay? The line judge will be back here, and if the balloon goes outside the circle, they're gonna tap it back in. Once the balloon hits the ground, the line judge is going to run in there, grab the balloon, run to the center, and put the balloon back up into the air, okay? So if the balloon hits the ground, and then it hits the ground again, then it hits the ground again, then it hits the ground again, before the line judge gets out there and grabs it, it's not 4 against you.
Yeah.
It only hit 1 time. He's supposed to do it immediately, run in there, and put that up. So we're looking at those things, and then when it's all done, and this takes about 30 seconds or so, or is it a minute? I can't remember off the top of my head.
60 seconds.
It feels like forever as, because as a line judge, we're doing so much work out here. But, so some line judges have to do a lot of running. It's kind of interesting. But anyway, we count the number of hits. All right, so then the line judge will let the circle director know by the scorekeeper, it'll go like 4, hit 4 times. And whichever team has the lowest number of hits for all of the heats, then they get first place, second place, third place, all right? Make sense? There's really not a lot of controversy on this one. I mean, sparking in and out. Now, this is where we can have some controversy. All right, so we have a bucket here, and they're all behind the line. We take the beanbag, we bring it out, we drop it in the bucket, then they run back, tag the next person. That person runs in, grabs the beanbag, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, till the last person gets the beanbag and goes in for the pin. Okay, so here's the bucket. My hand is over the bucket, dropping the beanbag. Not over here, launching it. Now, we've had a few coaches that have taught their kids to launch it. Well, that's 1 less step that they took here and 1 less step that they took back. And the difference when there's that many kids going, because every other player is taking 2 less steps, it's huge, okay? Because they didn't place their hand over the bucket. They threw the beanbag. And the handoff, they need to be behind the line. Now, are we crazy about behind the line in Sparkies? No, we're not, but they need to be behind the line when they get tagged or do their handoff, okay? But really where the difference is made with people not playing the game as is written is throwing the beanbag, okay? So depending on whether or not we have an odd or even number with the division, whether or not the beanbag starts here or here, and that's taken care of. It's in your rule book that you can look at that, and we'll make sure of it as judges also that the beanbag starts in the right spot. Does that make sense? Okay? Again, it's 2 heats, girl then a boy. All right? Rabbit hunt. All right, so this is a Nerf ball. And it's not a Nerf ball with a plastic coating on the outside. We're not throwing bricks. We're not throwing bowling balls. We're throwing a Nerf ball, which is the equivalent of a sponge. Okay? It's just a big sponge is what it is, okay? It's round. If you get hit in the head, you know, I mean, me going like that is gonna hurt more